Missouri Tigers have found their next basketball coach. Good afternoon, I'm Brittany Keeper.
And I'm Jim Wright. Thanks for joining us. Cuonzo Martin is leaving the University of California for Mizzou. KOMU8's Chris Trevino is here in the studio with the details. Chris, what do you have for us?
Okay, it's true. Cuonzo Martin is coming back to the Midwest. Jim and Brittany, days after Kim Anderson's last game as Tiger coach, Missouri has quickly moved to find his replacement, announcing the hiring of Cuonzo Martin as new men's basketball coach. The 45-year-old is from East St. Louis in Illinois, played college ball at Purdue. He also had time in the NBA, drafted by the Atlanta Hawks in 1995. Martin became a head coach in 2008, taking over at Missouri State University in his 3 years with the Bears, a record of 61-41. After that, on to Tennessee. The Volunteers made the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament in his third year. He had a 63-41 record in Knoxville. Then he moved west to Cal, where he compiled a 61-38 record with the Golden Bears. You see the steady, consistent winning of Cuonzo Martin at those three schools. He hopes to revive a struggling Tiger program that won only 8 games this past season, including just a 2-16 mark in the SEC. A lot more coming up at 6 on Missouri's new basketball coach, Cuonzo Martin.
If you plan to attend any games, how you get your tickets could soon have some new rules. Missouri lawmakers advanced a bill that would limit ticket scalpers. It aims to ensure automated software cannot buy tickets and resell them for more money, but it would still require venues to have transferable and non-transferable tickets. This ensures people unable to attend an event can still resell their tickets.
At what age should Missourians be allowed to get married?
Right now, there are certain requirements for minors under 18 years old, but one lawmaker thinks it's not enough protection. KOMU8's Emma Reckenberg has details on what her bill would require before a child could receive a marriage license.
It's no chapel, but here at the Capitol, Representative Jean Evans has marriage on her mind.
We want parents to be able to make decisions for their own children. However, in cases where they are abusing their children or trafficking their children, the state needs to interfere.
She's referring to the bill she's sponsoring, which, if passed, would raise the standards for those wanting to get married.
If they are under 17 and they want to get married, they actually have to go before a judge and have a hearing.
Upon evaluation, the judge would determine whether or not to authorize the marriage license, not the parents, which is the current law for minors ages 15 to 17. Nanette Ward with the Central Missouri Stop Human Trafficking Coalition says child marriage can be used as a mask for human trafficking.
The traffickers have found so many ways to get their victims entrapped and exploited and be able to exist under the radar. And so certainly within a marriage arrangement, that would be one of the ways that they could conduct business and not be caught.
So I went to speak with Cole County's Recorder of Deeds and ask what ages were people getting married.
By golly, we see everybody in here of all ages. I don't know that there's any, I don't know that I could tell you that there's any one age group even. But common sense would tell me that younger people.
Okay. When you say younger people, would you say they're normally 18 or younger than that?
Oh gosh, no. They're older than that.
Bray says his staff rarely sees minors apply for a marriage license, but if one did, the office would follow state law, a law Representative Evans hopes to change.
As much as we don't like to believe that that can happen, it does happen. And so just having a parent be able to sign off on their child being married was not enough of a prevention for these children to be abused.
The bill is awaiting a third read on the House floor. Evans anticipates it passing in the House and is hopeful with the Senate.
Students, parents, and organizers went to the Capitol today to humanize the bills they believe are damaging to the LGBTQ community. KOMU8's Chris Joseph is live in Jefferson City to tell you how their efforts could impact your children's school.
I'm holding the talking points the Missouri Gay Straight Alliance Network distributed to its volunteer lobbyists. They include but aren't limited to zero tolerance on bullying, suicide prevention, training for teachers, and all-inclusive gendered bathrooms. Now, this comes at a time when Senate Bill 98 is currently working its way through the Senate Education Committee. That bill is the so-called bathroom bill, which would require all individuals to use bathrooms in public schools assigned to their biological sex. Now, the Senate sponsor, Bill Emery, says the bill actually protects and accommodates for all individuals, while the lobbyists say that it actually is a form of discrimination.
Ultimately, it's about empathy, and we want to make sure that there is empathy in education. And I feel like these bills are very dangerous.
It's consistent with what we've always done in public education in terms of showers, dressing rooms, and even restrooms.
Reese says he has the votes in the Senate to get the bill passed very soon. Live in Jefferson City, Chris Joseph, KMU8 News.
Several Jefferson City school administrators face a pay freeze for the 2017-2018 school year. The school board approved a preliminary budget Monday. The money saved will help fund a small portion of the construction costs for a new high school. Taxes would cover the rest of the cost if a new school proposition is approved. In Washington, investigations continue into the possibility of Russian hacking in the presidential election. Today, their investigations hit home for 500 million Yahoo email users. NBC's Blaine Alexander reports.
In Washington, all eyes are on Russia as the House Intelligence Committee pushes ahead with its investigation into Russian meddling into the 2016 election.
Finally, the American people are awakening to the fact that Putin is creating problems for us and our allies all over the globe.
As for the president's tweeted claims that President Obama had Trump Tower wiretapped, a pushback from key lawmakers saying they have seen no evidence.
You can't level an accusation of that type without either retracting it or explaining just why it was done.
That question needs to be answered because I don't think it's ever been raised before. And the bottom line is a lot of Americans are wondering what's going on here.
From the Justice Department today, new charges of Russian hacking, this time connected to the 2014 incident involving 500 million Yahoo email accounts. 2 Russian intelligence officials and 2 criminal hackers accused of targeting government officials and compromising many more.
Conspired to plan and carry out one of the largest cyber intrusions in U.S. history.
This is explosive. This is state-on-state cyber attack.
The president traveled to Michigan, where none of this is dampening support among his base.
I think he's doing a fine job. He's my hero.
President Trump trying to focus on his message.
I am going to fight for your jobs.
Despite growing questions in Washington. On Capitol Hill, Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
FBI Director James Comey said he will testify at that hearing next week.
The Northeast is digging out today after last night's winter storm dumped up to 30 inches of snow in some parts. The storm's being blamed as the cause for at least 4 deaths in the region. Strong winds, heavy snow and ice brought about 70 million people from Washington, D.C. to northern New England to a standstill. Some schools are still closed and airports across the Northeast are struggling to return to normal operations. Mid-Missourians are rallying behind our neighbors in Kansas and Oklahoma whose lives were recently turned upside down by recent wildfires. KOMU8's Abby Breidenbach spent some time today with the woman behind the donation relief. But first, let's check in with Tori for a look at our forecast. A U.S. State Department is hoping to shorten a student's foreign sentence by 14 years. Find out why the U.S. wants him back later.
Plus, a heartbreaking discovery in Mexico.
And right now, you're taking a live look over Colombia. It's 5:08, and this is KOMU8 News, first at 5, coverage you can count on.
Yeah, it was cold last night.
Oh, so we woke up at 14 degrees was our low this morning. Ugh.
All right, Tori, thank you. Yeah. Mid-Missourians are rallying behind neighbors from Kansas and Oklahoma who have recently been battling wildfires. KOMU8's Abby Breidenbach spent time today with a woman behind a relief effort. She joins us now live at a donation drop-off site. Abby, what do you have for us?
Well, here at the Englewood Community Club in Ashland, people are coming to drop off their donations for those wildfire victims. Right now, round hay bales like these and fencing supplies like this are what are in the highest demand. That's what those victims said. Now, as of right now, more than 500 round hay bales have been donated, but there's still a need for more hay as well as more drivers. That's people with trucks who can haul the hay. A drive organizer said it's imperative we lend a hand because the impact of these fires will go far beyond the borders of the states that were scorched.
Our meat comes from, that part of the country, and later in the year, in months to come, it's going to affect the price of our meat. And people need to be aware it's not the farmer trying to make a dollar. It's not the ranchers. That is not the case. They've lost their livestock. They've lost their livelihood.
All right, they're also collecting books and other kids' donations as well.
Sounds good.
A mass gravesite discovery in Mexico.
It should provide a lot of answers. That's coming up next. The U.S. State Department is calling for the release of an American college student in North Korea. This almost a year after he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor for stealing a political banner. Otto Warmbier was in North Korea on a 5-day tour. Not illegal, but risky for an American. A former New Mexico governor who's helped free political prisoners before is working for his release.
We don't know what he wants, so there's nothing to bargain with. There's nothing to know how to make a deal to get this kid out. And in the meantime, he sits there suffering and sometimes forgotten.
Richardson says Kim Jong-un has released American prisoners before, but it's extremely difficult since the U.S. has no formal diplomatic relations with North Korea.
More than 250 human skulls were discovered in a mass grave in Mexico. Authorities say most likely the victims of drug cartels over the years. Currently, they're working to match the skulls using information in the database of missing people. Some of them were found with help from members of a group of mothers and other relatives of missing people. One mother says this discovery finally gave her some peace of mind. The Boone County Health Department is partnering with MU Health to implement a Fit-tastic program for youth designed to promote better habits and consistently track weight and activity levels. Pediatricians will look at physical activity, screen time, water intake, and nutrition levels for all children ages 2 through 18. They will then use the Fit-tastic program to give families an achievable goal, educational materials, and incentives to work toward. This gives pediatricians an easier way to track weight and activity progress among all patients.
Basically allows everyone in the healthcare community in Columbia to be on the same message when it comes to childcare, health, and allows folks to be on the same page when in terms of communicating how to make better healthy choices.
The long-term goal for Boone County Fit-tastic is to expand the program into rural communities. Doctors in the U.S. say climate change is not just bad for the environment, but also your health. A new report links asthma and other lung diseases to wildfires and air pollution. It also says climate change contributes to the spread of infectious diseases and can even trigger mental health problems in someone extremely affected by the weather. Members of 11 top medical societies joined together to raise awareness and call for the use of clean, renewable energy. Coming up at 6, Missouri lawmakers are working to put a stop to lobbyist gifts to elected officials.
And a man arrested after a drug bust in Columbia. That's coming up at 6 o'clock. Tori.
All right, with temperatures once again very, very cold out there tonight, dropping to about 28 degrees for an overnight low. We do have that freeze warning still in effect through 10 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Behind that, though, much warmer days ahead, guys. We're going to be back into the upper 50s on Thursday, back into the 60s through the weekend.
That's our time for now. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night.
On air, online, on Facebook.